Our first point, the government is currently providing better and safer water. Because governments are required by law to monitor drinking water, it is to ensure that water will be clean and healthy. Private companies have no restriction as to how they're to run their industry. Once the government signs the contract, they have no say in the matter.
However, this is only in the United States. Their piece of evidence talked about all these specific chemicals, and even if we look to the United States, we can recently look to New York, where they found prescription drugs in the water. And do you guys remember that student who did a study who found feces in his school drinking fountain? So yeah, that's kind of disgusting, and the government obviously isn't providing safe water.
Our second point, the business aspect of privatization deters the corporations from protecting the water supply, leading to negative effects on the environment. Despite the abundance of water on the earth, less than 0.5% of it is drinkable. As things such as global warming and pollution continue to degrade our environment, this number decimates. According to Issues and Controversies, September 13, 2002, entitled Water, opponents warn that privatization will not lead to conservation of water. Rather, they say it will encourage waste.
And also, they say that the government is protecting the environment. However, how are they doing that? Look at global warming. We haven't signed the Kyoto Protocol. We haven't done anything. How can the government more adequately protect the environment?
Our third point, government-provided water is more affordable and easier to access. According to the Multinational Monitor in an article titled Privatization Tidal Wave, published September 2001. These requirements mean that user fees paid by water consumers must cover all water system costs, which usually include the cost of operation, maintenance, and capital expenditure, and sometimes the cost of servicing past utility company debt.
Because the government is in debt, there's less money for food, for shelter, and that takes away other essential rights. So it no longer becomes a government obligation when it negates all other rights.
So what sort of environmental protection would you be providing with privatization?
Environmental protection as in the private company is going to pay more attention to the water that they're distributing to their citizens. We didn't really talk about in our case environmental impact necessarily. We were talking about simply getting the water to the people, and we believe private companies are best suited to do so.
Our first point addresses the presence and harms of diseased water and will show that privatization can help solve the issue and save lives. The World Health Organization, in a publication titled Ecosystems and the Human Being Health Synthesis, published in 2005, gives us statistics on the current extent of diseases caused by poor qualities of water.
My first point, when Colin read it out, we said that we save over 1 million lives. So this proves that not only does privatization do it, but government does it and we do it better. My second argument is that privatization doesn't save lives as well as they try to tell you. This is according to the Independent Media Center, April 3rd, 2003. Since South Africa has started selling off water services, 10 million citizens have had their water cut off, and tens of thousands have died of cholera and diarrhea.
In our second point, we will discuss how private companies are more efficient and advanced. Private companies generate revenue. Governments do not. They actually have to dip into their own pockets to cover some of the expenses of distributing water.
My first argument is that government-provided water is actually cheaper for the citizens. As we stated in our case, when privatization provides water, they can raise the price as much as they want because they're out there to make a profit. However, a government is held accountable to their actions and to the citizens because there are checks and balances in place. And if the citizens don't get enough water, the government is held accountable.
Our third and final point addresses how privatization avoids the corruption that comes with public ownership in politics. From Lawrence W. Reed, president of Mackinac Center for Public Policy, May 21st, 1997, in The Privatization Revolution. If you tie up the performance of a task with red tape, bureaucracy, and politics within a system that is guaranteed to exist regardless of outcome, and the result is usually mediocrity at a great expense. Infuse competition, accountability, and the fear of losing a valued customer into the task, and mediocrity becomes the exception. Excellence becomes the rule.
Much of England and France have privatized water systems. The result has been a loss of local water and increased corruption.
Why is the government more likely to conserve natural resources and the environment?
Well, what we're saying, not only in the United States, but in other countries, these third world countries, where there aren't as big of regulations on these governments, they can basically go down and chop rainforests where there isn't a strong country like the United States to say, hey, stop that. And because of this, places where there's not as strong of a government to stop them from hurting the environment, there are going to be these environmental harms.